Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the LG 34-inch 21:9 curved ultra-wide monitor. This is an IPS display priced at $12.99 US retail. I have seen it sell for less than that, but pricing has remained relatively firm for this display, even though it has been on the market for a little while now. Still one of the best, in my opinion, if you're in the market for a 21:9 aspect ratio experience. So 3440 by 1440 resolution on this panel, not 4K, but close. And in terms of the quality, because you do have an IPS display, you are getting, I think it's a little or exactly 99% of Adobe coverage with this panel. So for those of you in the field of photography, video, this is an ideal piece of editing equipment, no question about it. If you're looking for a display for your workflow that's going to give you far more real estate, but you don't necessarily require 4K, although I am a big fan of the LG Cinema display that I recently unboxed, this is another really good alternative, or maybe even complement to that display, if I could go that far. So again, you're looking at an expensive panel, but something that has very good response time at 5 milliseconds, which means enthusiasts that want a game with more immersion can also do that with this. Again, I'll reiterate, it's really about casual gaming, not professional or really competitive, I would say, because 5 milliseconds isn't the best, but certainly for me personally, a very good balance when it comes to both work and play. Ideally, the goal though with 21:9 is simple. You want to eliminate the need for dual display with a single panel. And in many instances, I've seen users actually eliminating triple displays with a single one of these. So it goes to, or it's worth mentioning that this concept is proven already, and it is selling well. As I mentioned, pricing has remained firm. This is also curved, which is huge. It's not something you're going to see as much when you're sitting in front of the panel, from what I've personally experienced thus far. Just seeing it as a demo unit on the floor. But when it comes to actually seeing the display, of course, from the side, the top, it's very noticeable that this panel is curved. Nothing else like it really other than Dell's offering. And otherwise, in terms of specifications, this is very similar to what LG has already in the marketplace for far less money. I mean, you can pick up that monitor, the uncurved version of this, for roughly $700 and change. Of course, I'll be showing you the ports that it has, but I just wanted to get that out of the way so anyone curious about this monitor has a good idea of what it's capable of. So pretty much rounds out the intro. Let's get right to the unboxing itself. And so as I'm getting this out of the box, I wanted you to see the top because, again, just reiterating everything I've already mentioned. Thunderbolt, of course, as well, appealing to Apple users that lean on that method, but otherwise for PC users, traditional DisplayPort. Good for daisy chaining, monitors, that's another great thing with this panel. Of course, PC and Mac compatibility. LG really does want to sell this to Apple users, just like the 4K Cinema display as well, even though Apple users have a problem with displaying that. Alright, so I'm going to open this thing up, and we're going to see exactly what we're working with. Keep in mind, no VESA mount with this out of the box, which is unfortunate since that is the way I will personally be using it. So I am disappointed about that. I would have liked to have seen it. I believe you have to contact LG in order to get it. But if I'm incorrect, of course, I will let all of you know. Definitely a pain when I compare it to basically every other monitor that I've purchased, at least in recent memory. But overall, not a big deal as long as they get it out in a relatively quick manner. The tape here, now this was from Microsoft Store, which, by the way, if you haven't shopped there, I recommend it. Granted, they're fairly retail on most things, but they occasionally do have a good price. But more importantly, they have great support. That's something I cannot say for any other vendor in the business right now. And that's why I continue to do business with them. So here we go. First look at what we've got in contents here. And you can see right here, immediately appealing to Apple users. And by the way, the design on this monitor is very nice. That's another facelift that it got from the previous gen, besides the curve itself. So we've got our power brick right here, which I'm going to get out of the way. The wall wart associated with said power brick. We've got what appears to be some instructions about how to handle the panel. Not getting into that. As well as unpacking instructions over here on the left-hand side, which I'm not really too concerned with all of you seeing. So let me go ahead and try to get this thing out. We've also got the balance of what I believe is the actual mount. Yeah, the stand. I'm not in love with the stand, by the way. You know, it's got some issues when it comes to basically being one-dimensional. Can't really do much with it in the way of flexibility, which is bad for a panel of this price. Whoa, sticking out there. A little bit dangerous, almost taking out the camera. Got a little spike action going on. But I want to get to the panel itself, which now you can finally, you have eyes on. Fancy silver cover here, which usually you wouldn't see. Let's see what else they've got. This is the back plate, I believe, to cover the ports, which they've done a nice job of concealing, but you'd have to take this off every single time if you actually planned on removing any of your I/O. Let's see the included cables. I know many of you are waiting for that. It appears this is, let's see. And for those of you wondering what displays I'm actually replacing, I was working with a triple Dell Ultra Sharp system. So kind of trying to find the sweet spot here on what the right panel is for me personally. So we've got included here a traditional DisplayPort cable right there, and then we've got a HDMI cable. Now this is not HDMI 2.0, no 4K here, so near 4K, but not quite. Paperwork, exciting stuff, right? What you're all really interested in. Now, the quality assurance report essentially equates to, you know, calibration test. So right here, I'm going to give you a look at that so you can see what they provide you with. So essentially the gamma, the color temperature variance, and by the way, the curve of the monitor, there's a lot more to this than gimmick, believe it or not. Now, within the TV realm, it's a gimmick, but when it comes to single user interface and seeing a panel, I believe there's a lot to be said, a lot of merit regarding the curve I'm not a doctor and I can't speak to eye health, but when you're looking at a screen all day, I have a feeling that we've been doing things wrong for a long time, on a serious note. But I think I'm going to have to change positions now to get this out of the box. At least you've seen what's in the box. Only thing I didn't share were the mounting screws. So they didn't include a VESA mount, even though this is what, revision 0.02, which they probably all are since launch. Let me get this thing out of the box so you can see what it looks like. And so after a little bit of work, I finally have it out of the box. I'm going to unwrap it so you can see exactly what this 21 by 9 34-inch ultra-wide 3440 by 1440 IPS display is all about. So again, unique in terms of the wrapping. Haven't seen any panel ever come with anything other than the basic overlay. This is still going to be a little bit of a workout. I don't want to break this thing in the process. It is more fragile, as you could imagine, than a traditional display, and that's because of its curve. We'll see how much work this actually takes. It appears I'm approaching it from the wrong side, but hopefully I'll get this in one shot. Doing this kind of blind here, so bear with. Don't want to completely destroy things. There we go. smooth transition. You can immediately see that metallic bezel that it sports. And there's no question, this is one of the nicest panels when it comes to just pure aesthetic on the market. Forget all the function I've mentioned. And you just have a glass edge-to-edge 34-inch curved 21.9 display. And I have to say that when it comes to gaming, you will need a solid card to drive this thing. You know, it's not 4K, but it's close enough that do not underestimate what you're going to need to game with it. That's what I will say regarding that. There we go. I'm finally getting this off without having any accidents. Not so easy doing these solo, I have to say. Whoa! You almost all just witnessed the worst nightmare that could happen in this scenario. Now, there is a power button at the bottom of this bad boy. I'm going to try to show you everything. Actually, as I knock that around, try to use that as a bit of a pad. So there is the matte black screen curved in all its glory, and you can't really, wow, it's even putting off an odor. It's that fresh from the factory. I believe made in Korea, by the way. It has that new smell of electronics. Many of you know what I'm talking about, that plastic. Right here is the power switch at the bottom, also the navigation through the on-screen display, the menu. But really is a massive display. But you do lose some of that vertical height that you traditionally would have with a 16 by 10 or 9. Because we are going to an ultra wide here. So that is the takeaway from gaining the fact that you are getting a wider display. Forget about the curve even for a moment. Of course, that's what makes this unique from all of the competition. But on top of that, you do have the benefit of really, as I said, getting multitasking done on a single panel. And the curve really is supposed to be better for your eyes. You're seeing what you should when it comes to brightness levels as you look around the screen, peripherally, otherwise, so that you're not getting the traditional effect you would with a flat display where maybe you might have eye strain looking at part of the panel. So there are elements to this beyond just the 21 by 9. The curve does play a role also in immersion in gaming, as I mentioned. That's huge, and that's going to be something I'm very interested in. Seeing how the Titan X performs. I'm sure it's going to be able to eat everything up at Ultra with this res, because I'm playing everything at Ultra right now in 4K, true 4K, with the LG 4K Cinema display. So this might be the best companion anyone can imagine for that display. I'll find out, although awkward looking, a little Frankenstein. Onboard speakers here at the bottom, a little bit more powerful than the ones on the 4K Cinema display. I'm not in love with the power button being here, or the on-screen menu. I'll let all of you know that already on the 4K Cinema. Not a fan. I know I'm not going to like it here. Your lock down here at the base. Let's flip it over so you can see exactly what that looks like. Whoa, making noises already. Don't like that. You can see there is the actual LG logo, as well as the mount for the stand that's included, which I will not be using. The VESA mount basically screws right onto this piece, and then you have a VESA mount. So it's not going to be completely flush like it traditionally would be on a monitor, but still fairly good. Let me flip this around so that you can actually see the ports. So here you can see the ports that are all at the back of the panel. And again, you can conceal this with the included back cover. So starting at the left, you can see right there we've got the actual power port itself, headphone mic port right there. You have two HDMI ports. You then have a display port. Then you have two mini display ports, or what is commonly referred to as a Thunderbolt port for marketing purposes. And then you've got a USB 3.0 host port, and then next to that two USB 3.0 ports, so that you can expand. You do actually have two more ports on here for USB 3.0 devices, which is nice. And that pretty much rounds things out. So, I'm not going to try to flip this over and risk damaging it. It is extraordinarily fragile, I can tell you that already. and that's why there are extensive instructions when it comes to handling this thing. But it already has impressed me, what I've seen in store, so I know what to expect. Again, I wish something like this were 4K, but at present, this is as good as it gets. And quite frankly, if you don't have an X, I think a 980 still will be able to play everything at Ultra in 3440 by 1440. But, you know, how much GPU power you'll need, that's something else that's going to come into play when you're making a selection on a brand new display like this, especially if you're eliminating a multi-monitor setup. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.